Good evening. This is a regular scheduled meeting of the Kettering City Council. Today's date is November 14th, 2023. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, thank you for your abundant blessings and surrounding us with stewardship and a supportive community in Kettering. We thank you for the ability to engage in useful work and for the honor of bearing these important responsibilities. We are grateful for your boundless love for all of us. Please continue to give us the strength and compassion with which to serve, and grant us the wisdom to make appropriate decisions. Help us remain humble and grateful for the opportunity to lead. Guide this council so that we may work in harmony while serving our citizens with integrity and purpose. Allow us to fulfill the responsibilities entrusted in us by our residents. Amen. I would like to recognize our Miami Valley Communication Council TV operator, Mike Saproni. Mike, thank you for your assistance. He's waving back there. Mr. Duke has an excused absence tonight. At this point, I would ask Mrs. Fisher to make a recommendation for the approval of the minutes for the October 24th council meeting and workshop minutes, as well as the November 1st, 2023 joint school board meeting minutes.
Your Honor, I have reviewed all three sets of those minutes, and I find them in order, and I move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and approved. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Klepass?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mayor Lehner?
Yes. We have no proclamations this evening or special presentations. We will move on to public hearings. We have no public hearings this evening. At this point, if there's anyone in the audience who would like to speak about any of the legislative issues that are on the agenda tonight, may do so at this time. Excuse me. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. Speakers must state their name and address. Comments should be addressed to council. If you have comments that are not about the legislation on tonight's agenda, there will be an opportunity for those to be heard later in the meeting. Is there anyone who wishes to speak about legislation? Okay. Hesitant there, but come on down.
Just checking the room. My name is AJ Scott. I'm at 4270 Morse Road, 43230. I wanted to address the council about I believe it's item number 7, the Sheets request for rezone at the parcel on the corner of Dorothy Lane. I first off wanted to just thank all of you guys for your time, your consideration, all of the discussions that we've had. I wanted to thank staff. They've been very helpful answering our questions during this process. It all just goes to confirm why we're super excited about possibly working with Kettering. Everything we've worked with and everyone we've interacted with has really been fantastic. So I just wanted to thank you all for your time. I just wanted to take this opportunity to just discuss a couple bullet points from the presentation that we gave a couple weeks ago. First and foremost, that this site is a vacant site. We all are aware. You guys are all aware. It's been vacant for 5 years now. The seller has been working with us. They are not looking to develop this site personally. It is Kettering Medical, a very large employer in the area. I know that the site has been hopefully been trying to use for an office. You know, they've told us they're not wanting to build that. Looks like this land could be vacant for quite a bit longer, and we'd hate to see that happen. I wanted to kind of remind council and although I know you guys are aware, the Sheets project is significantly larger impact than a lot of other opportunities that could go there. 1.4 million in payroll per year, 30 plus, full-time, part-time employees. I won't bore you with those details. I know we're all aware. But I wanted to address one comment made at the very end of last meeting by Mr. I'm sorry if I get this wrong.
Klipaz.
Klipaz. You had mentioned before that you were concerned as to why we were talking about Sheets in our last meeting when it's a rezone, and where was Kettering Medical and all of this. Gave us time to kind of work it out with them. Kettering, I don't know if you guys received it. They did send some communication about their stance on all of this. And they just wanted council to know that if there's a pandemic or some other unforeseen situation and Sheets doesn't end up going on the site, Kettering will work with you and anyone else to rezone the site back to either what it currently is or whatever you guys have, potential on that site or would look for that to be. So we wanted to just kind of reiterate the fact that we're not looking at rezoning this for any random purpose. It is for Sheets if you guys want that. That's what we're excited about and really looking forward to. And I just wanted to kind of clarify that point. So anyway, I really appreciate you guys.
Thank you, and we have certainly appreciated your professionalism in representing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Let's see where we were. Okay. We will, is that another?
Good evening, Mayor.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
My name's Steve Ireland. I live at 4325 Delco Dell Road in Kettering. And I spoke at the Planning Commission meeting, and at that time suggested that this site would be a nice redevelopment opportunity for someone. I think its use as an office site was a little outdated, given all that we've learned in the last 3 or 4 years. The seller who had intended to build a medical office building there was not going to do that and was pretty clear that they were not. As a commercial real estate agent, I've had the opportunity to represent property owners in the neighborhood. It's primarily a lot of medical office vacancy that exists there currently, and it's very hard to find tenants given the nature of the economy and the market. I felt at the time that I addressed Planning Commission that there was sort of an inclination to take a look at their zoning by right for an office and say, this may be a really good opportunity to rethink how we're developing our neighborhoods. And I think another important aspect of this site is the sheer fact that it's surrounded by retail users on every corner. There's a BP station across the street, an Arby's, a Wendy's, a tire center, a dialysis center, a Mexican restaurant, a soon-to-be hopefully open breakfast restaurant. But having this type of use doesn't seem to be incongruent with the neighborhood. Even though a number of those properties are not within the city of Kettering, I recognize that we border Moraine at that juncture. But it just seemed like the Planning Commission was giving some thoughtful due diligence, if you will, to consider maybe a rezone would be appropriate in this area, but were handcuffed by the zoning ordinance and as by right said, well, we have to vote it down. I guess my point in bringing all that up is the fact that I would like council to sort of maybe revisit that concept before they vote no, or hopefully will vote in favor of tabling this and giving some additional thought, because as a citizen and as somebody in the commercial real estate sector, I think this would be an appropriate use for that corner. These projects take a long time to come up out of the ground. There's no guarantee that they'll be successful with all the things that need to happen with a redevelopment site, but I think it's an appropriate use, and as a member of the city of, as a resident of the city of Kettering, I stand in support of the applicant's petition, and I would hope that you would consider it in a favorable fashion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Okay. We will now move on to ordinances in second reading, of which we have none. Let's call on Mrs. Fisher to introduce the first resolution.
Your Honor, I do have a resolution authorizing the city manager to contract with Montgomery County Public Defender Commission and the Montgomery County Public Defender Office to provide mandated legal counsel to indigent persons appearing in the Kettering Municipal Court. We do have an estimated cost, which is in the budget, of $50,000 requested by the Law Department, and I move for approval.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Greason.
Yes, Your Honor, the city is required by law to provide legal counsel to indigent persons that are charged with a violation of a city ordinance, for which the penalty or any possible adjudication includes the potential loss of liberty. And we do that through the Montgomery County Public Defender Commission and the Montgomery County Public Defender Office. So this authorizes us to continue that contract, and we recommend approval.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? Okay, seeing none, call the roll.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Klepass?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to contract with Globus Printing and Packaging for printing and mailing services for the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts 2024 Activities Guide. The estimated cost is $90,000. It's in the 2024 budget, requested by Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts Department. Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Greason.
Yeah, Your Honor, I think the resolution speaks for itself. I just would add that we've used Globus Printing for several years, and they've agreed to hold 2023 pricing in 2024, and so we see that as beneficial.
Okay. Any questions? Comments? All right, call the roll.
Mr. Klepass?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution approving amended and restated homebuyer assistance program guidelines. This is being requested by Planning and Development Department. There is no cost associated. I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Bergstresser.
I believe I'm going to handle that one,
You're
Your
gonna
Honor.
handle it.
And Mr. Robillard can help me if I get any of it wrong. So this resolution approves amended and restated home buyers assistant program guidelines. We're using CDBG community development block grants to support, in this instance, our home buyers assistance program. There are a number of guidelines that have been updated and need approval. One is a revision for the need for 6 months of bank statements to 2 months of bank statements, which is a requirement of the Community Development Block Grant funding. That assistance can be used for first-time home buyers and other income-eligible purchasers. It increases the amount of assistance from $8,000 to $10,000, with the buyer paying 50% of the lender's required down payment, which is also a requirement of the particular type of funding we're using, community development block grants, and it updates some income guidelines that are provided to us by the Federal Housing and Urban Development Department.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone have any questions? Call the roll.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Klepass?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to accept a grant from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources for the Miami Valley Research Park Bike Path, city project number 05-0041. Estimated cost $350,000, and that is the amount budgeted. I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Bergstresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. As mentioned, this resolution will authorize the city to accept a grant through ODNR, Ohio Department of Natural Resources, for a project that will be constructed next year along Research Boulevard, which will construct a new bike path connection between Woodman Drive and College Drive to improve bicycle amenities and facilities in the Research Park area. The city was awarded through the state capital budget process $125,000 for this project. We will be receiving $122,500 out of the award. There's a small amount that ODNR is allowed to retain for administration. But this grant will be used next year to offset the cost of the project, which is estimated totally for $350,000. Be happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions? Seeing none, call the roll.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Ms. Duval,
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Klepass.
Yes.
Mrs. Hall, Mayor Laner.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into and implement a collective bargaining agreement with the International Association of Firefighters, Local 2150, which is consistent with a tentative agreement reached by the bargaining teams. This is being requested by the Human Resources Department, and I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, let's see, Mr. Greason.
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to say we're pleased to have reached a tentative agreement with the IFF, which represents our firefighters and fire captains. The members have ratified the agreement. The tentative agreement deals with several issues, wages, of course, leave and calculations for leave and overtime, health insurance, and some provisions related to deferred compensation. Probably most importantly to highlight about this agreement is the wage terms, which are agreed upon at 2.5, 2.5 each year for the 3-year period of the agreement. Certainly, it's our recommendation that you approve this, and we're grateful to have reached a mutually beneficial agreement with our IFF.
Right. Anybody have any comments, questions, anything on it? I would just like to say I want to thank, both everyone who was involved in reaching this agreement. Sometimes they can be contentious. This one was not, and as in everything we do with our fire department, it's always great to work with you guys. So thank you. And I understand police will be up next, but not tonight. Go ahead and call the roll.
Ms. Duval,
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Klepass.
Yes.
Mrs. Hall, Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Mayor Laner.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to contract with the P&R Communications for technical support, maintenance, installation, and repair of the city's radio communications equipment. The budget is for $78,000, and that's in 2024, and the estimated cost is $60 less. It is requested by the police department, and I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Greason, you have more comments?
Yes, Your Honor. We are standardized with Motorola for our radio system, and P&R Communications is the local Motorola distributor and representative. So this contract is for 1 year with the option to renew for 4 additional years, starting in January in 2024 to provide technical support, maintenance, installation, repair of what is a critical system and assets within our operations.
Okay, anyone have any questions? Okay, call the roll.
Mrs. Fisher.
Yes.
Mr. Klepass.
Yes.
Mrs. Hall. Mr. Scott.
Yes.
Ms. Duval.
Yes.
Mayor Laner.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution accepting the recommendation of the Kettering Planning Commission to deny the application for rezoning in case number PC 23-018 concerning the property located at 1490 West Dorothy Lane. It's requested by the council office. I move for approval.
Second.
And Mr. Greason?
Your Honor, I want to just take a minute for Mr. Hamer to refresh everyone's memory of the process and what we're doing here this evening, and then we'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Greason. Your Honor, members of council, following the requirements of the zoning code that this council adopted, the Planning Commission reviewed the application and recommended that council deny the application for the rezoning. So this particular resolution would accept that recommendation, and the application to rezone would be denied. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to address them.
Anybody have any questions, comments? Okay, call the roll.
Mr. Kleipas?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
No.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes. Okay. We'll now move on to ordinances in first reading. Miss someone?
forgot.
One more up there. Okay. All right.
Joe, ready?
Wait, who's,
Sorry.
Jill's up.
Your Honor, I have a resolution to declare the necessity and intentions of acquiring property interests in project parcels 3T of the Danube Court Bridge Rehabilitation Project, City Project Number 03-924A, ODOT Project, MOT Danube Court Bridge Rehab, PID Number 114100. I move for approval.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Bergstresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. This resolution will allow the city to declare the necessity and intention of acquiring a small piece of right-of-way in relation to the Danube Court Bridge Replacement Project, rehabilitation project. This is a 2024 capital improvement project in which we need some small areas of right-of-way to construct the project. This is the first step in acquiring the property through eminent domain. We will contact, we will contact the owner again after this resolution has been adopted to make a final offer before we proceed with final taking of the property. Be happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions? Seeing none, call the roll.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Kleipas?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes. We will now move on to ordinances in first reading. And I think that's you, Lisa. Bob.
Bear with me here. An ordinance to amend Section 660.20 of the codified ordinances to prohibit illicit drainage, discharge of pollutants into the storm drainage system. Sean, do I need to read the whole thing?
It's first reading.
First reading.
First
Reading.
Okay. All right, we will now move on to certifications and petitions. Do we have none? Ms. Kaczynski, do we have any?
Your Honor, we do not have any certifications or petitions this evening.
Okay, we'll now move on to the manager's report, community update.
Yes, Your Honor. First, we want to talk a little bit about Medicare enrollment. Began October 15th and goes through December 7th. And so for more information regarding Medicare resources, our Medicare eligible residents can contact Natalie Storms, our senior services coordinator, at the number on the screen. She is a great resource in our community and for our organization and in our support of seniors. If you haven't noticed, leaves have fallen on the ground, and our crews are diligently working to get rid of them if they're raked out to the curb. So we're continuing that through the districts in numerical order. Please rake your leaves to the edge of your lawn, but not into the street where they will block traffic or cause a hazard to storm drains. We would ask that there be no branches, sticks, grass, or other yard waste among the leaves because we don't want to clog the machinery. And if you have any questions, certainly you can contact the service department, but we're posting information regularly on social media as well as on our website. It is Native American Heritage Month, and our Kettering Board of Community Relations encourages you to learn more about Native American heritage this month and at any time because Kettering is home to all of us. Our Board of Community Relations also hosts an MLK writing contest. and wants to encourage Kettering students to reflect on the teachings of inspirational civil rights leaders, both past and present. The criteria for this contest is the participants can be students grades 6 through 12. The submissions can be made online at ketteringoh.org. And winners will be selected in both middle and high school categories and receive a $50 gift card and be invited to attend a city council meeting to recognize them for their good work. So we encourage participation. It's important. Many people rely on our services, and so we want to make sure people know that city offices will be closed on Thursday, November 23rd, and Friday, November 24th. Trash collection, probably most important, on Thursday will be delayed till Friday. Friday collection will be on Saturday. And I know I'm probably stealing the thunder of Councilmember Klepaz, but November 25th is Small Business Saturday. Please show your support of Kettering small businesses in honor of this important day. One of the cherished events in Kettering is we offer people to attend a free Christmas Day gathering, December 25th, of course, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. This time it will be at the Latham Senior Center on Glengarry Drive. Please come and join your fellow residents in a hot meal, sweet treats, festive holiday music, and pictures with Santa and games for all ages. You do not need to make a reservation, but we always appreciate an RSVP so that we can make plans for the numbers. Your Honor, that is my report this evening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reese. At this point, if there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address council, they may do so. They may come down at this point. Each speaker will have a 5-minute limit. Speakers are asked to state their name and address. Is there anyone who would like to speak before City Council? I see Mr. Abernathy is at the podium, so I'll let you proceed. Remember, 5 minutes.
My name is Sterling Abernathy. I have comments about the city's long-range financial forecast. That forecast was shared and discussed at your council workshop meeting on September 26th. There are two things that I'd like to highlight. First, the report forecasts that the city's financial sustainability is in jeopardy. The long-range financial forecast for the next 10 years shows the following. Revenues and spending increase every year, but spending increases more than revenues. In 9 of 10 years, revenue shortfalls are covered by spending down the city's general fund. The general fund balance declines by 60%, a $40 million decline over the 10-year period. In other words, the city forecasts spending $40 million more than its revenues during the next 10 years. The amount of cash the city has in reserve will go from covering 9 months' worth of spending to 1.5 months' worth of spending at the end of the period. This is below Kettering's long-standing policy of 3 months of reserve. These are year-to-year continuing trends. The problem is not just some shortfall suddenly popping up 8 to 10 years from now. Second, the minutes you approved about the forecast meeting are incomplete, inaccurate, and misleading. Nothing in these 2 pages of minutes even mentions the negative trends and negative outcomes of the forecast as covered in the charts in your discussion during the meeting. During the meeting, Budget Manager O'Connell, Finance Director Gregory, and Councilman Klepaz all made statements such as, "We will never let it happen," "We can't," "As Nancy said, we will not let this happen." The city charter requires that records of council meetings include a fair and accurate summary of the comments made by any person during any public meeting. You did not include your statements in the minutes about the forecast, such as, "We would not let this happen, we can't," because apparently you do not want the public to know the content of the financial forecast and your discussion about it. A month ago, I sent you a letter indicating you need to correct the minutes. You still need to correct those minutes. Hiding the forecast from the public is not going to prevent the city's financial distress from happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abernathy. I think you must keep in mind that what you saw was a projection, and if you look over the last 30 years, I think you will find every projection we've ever made, at least until the time we received money from the Boonschafts, we saw a 10-year out shortfall, and we always adjust for that. We will adjust again for that. When Nancy said that will never happen, we won't let it happen, it's because we never have let it happen. So we appreciate your input, and hopefully as you watch over the next several years, which I'm sure you will, you'll see that those adjustments are made. We cannot operate at a deficit. So, anybody have anything else? Let's hear committee reports. You didn't want to comment, did you? Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah, and I'm waiting to see if anyone's still. Anyone else want to speak? Okay. We'll now move on to committee, or chairman, council reports.
Council reports.
It's been a long day.
So similar to Mr. Greason, I'm also going to steal a little bit of Mr. Klepaz's thunder because I have already seen the small business flurry in Kettering, Ohio. So on Veterans Day, there was a bazaar at the Latham Rec Center. Millions of people, I'm sure it wasn't millions, but there were a ton of a lot of business owners there and a lot of shoppers. And so I know there was some good flow that was happening that day. Very overwhelming for me to walk into that area. Your Honor, I also want to bring up that a lot of us went to Lisa and Mr. Klepaz and Jill. I think we're all at the Women Build and the dedication for the Habitat Homes. So we welcomed in Olive and Cassandra and their children to Kettering, to our home. What a great event. It's always cool to bring in one new family, and it was awesome to bring in 2 new families. They are so happy and joyful to be a part of our community, and we encourage them to get involved in the city and be a part of the city. And so that's all I have for today.
Thank you.
Very good, yeah. You know, my takeaway from that is we've seen a lot of Habitat houses go up in Kettering. And what a great program they have. But the addition at these 2 houses, was the Women Build collaboration with them. And quite a few people from that organization were there that actually provided a lot of labor that went into building those 2 lovely houses, nice families. So that was a good difference in what we've been seeing. So hopefully we'll see more of that. I do want to mention our city manager and his dancing debut on November the 4th at the annual event for the Kettering Police Foundation, Dancing with the Kettering Stars. Once again, Chief, what a great program they all put together. I don't know if you have the final results in financially, but I know it's always a good program, and it's well supported by a lot of people from our community. And I think that's a kind of a tribute to the work that you all do.
We do have a copy of the tape. Anyone want to watch
I
it?
would love to see it.
Don't worry, we're not going to do that.
It'll be on cable.
I was in person when the city manager accepted the challenge to dance, and he didn't even hesitate, and he said yes. So I'm looking forward to who you line up next year already. Yeah, I know there's a few people being given direction by their bosses that they're going to have to do it. So. The only other thing I want to mention was on Veterans Day, quite a few of us were over to John F. Kennedy Elementary School. They put on a Veterans Day program every year. Again, they did, and it's really amazing to see those students doing their thing on Veterans Day and showing their appreciation for our veterans. And and then at Delco Park, I think everyone on council was there last Saturday for that event. And we had nice weather. I think that's why most people came, because of the weather. And now I have a very interesting do you know? And this was supported by #ShopLocal. Do you know that local businesses generate 70% more local economic activity per square foot than big box stores? Think about that one. And last but not least, on Shop Local, I have 2 new assistants, the city manager, Matt Greason, and the vice mayor, Jackie Fisher. Thanks for supporting local Kettering business. That's all I have. My assistants.
Good
You
job.
could be one someday.
Okay, I'll aspire to that.
Yeah.
Just have a brief update. Just want to give a really big congratulations to the newly elected city council people. Our incumbents contested race, very, very happy Lisa won. Welcome to the new members. And I really am going to miss, though, working with Tony and Bruce. I've learned quite a bit from them since I've been here, and I'm really glad I came and had a chance to learn from people with a lot of institutional knowledge. I wanted to mention, as we get into the holidays, that there's more hungry people now than in recent years in Dayton and Kettering, which is among the hungriest places in the country. And just want to encourage donations and thinking about people during the holiday season, as hunger is significant. There's a great article on Friday's Dayton Daily News about what that looks like locally. In particular, I recommend my friend With God's Grace organization, the Dayton Food Bank, and of course Kettering Backpack Program that I understand has a food pantry as well now. Just want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody until we see each other again. I'm very thankful right now for my family, and I'm thankful we live in a city where things like the Home Buyers Assistance Program is on the agenda, and that the Kettering kids have been safe another year in the public schools here. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Scott.
This time of year, I'm reminded, and Mr. Greason said it, what a benefit it is in our city that you can rake your leaves to the curb, as I do my annual battle in my yard. And a couple of months earlier, when I did my annual battle with my honeysuckle bushes at the back of my property to take them to the Yard Waste Center. So citizens, please avail yourself of that service. It is a good one that the city provides. I had the pleasure to go to the Delco Park Veterans Day Memorial this past Saturday as the proud father-in-law of an ex-Army Ranger and a serving Air Force Major. It does my heart good to see our city honor these folks. But I was even more moved by going to John F. Kennedy School on Friday afternoon. I cannot commend the principal and staff of that school anymore than what they do. It is kind of passé for patriotism, but I think it's great that they teach these young people about our veterans and how to honor the people who serve in the military. And I would challenge every school in Kettering to do the same thing, from Fairmont down through all the elementary schools. It was a moving thing, and I think it sets the tone for young minds to understand what this country's all about. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was not able to attend the JFK Veterans Program, but I did read to kindergartners that morning at JFK, and one of them asked me if I live in America. And I said yes, and he looked at me and he said, well, I live in Kettering. So there you go. So the Kettering Leadership Academy had a very good week last week. We had our education day. We spent the day with the schools, and I want to there's too many people to thank who were involved in that, but I would like to thank Minnie McCarty-Stewart, Karen Dunslow, the principal of Fairmont, and I never say his name right, Dan Von Handorf, for taking their time to spend the day with the Leadership Academy. It was a great day. A lot of our members had those moments of, I didn't know the schools did this, I didn't know they did that, and it's really cool to see. And I would like to say Ryan Holmesy and Jody Ball are here tonight from the Kettering Leadership Academy. Ryan, I know you had to be here, it's a little different, but it still counts. Well, all right. I was giving you credit. The Board of Community Relations is still looking for new members, get those applications in, and I would also like to congratulate everyone who not just won their races this past Tuesday, but anyone who ran, contested, uncontested, win or lose. It is never an easy thing to do to run for office. So I'm so impressed with the commitment to community that our citizens show. And I would like to welcome Mr. Suddeth and Mr. Sullivan up here for 4 years with us. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Duval. I just have a couple quick things. I enjoyed going out with a few brave souls to do Make a Difference Day. There, it was over the Van Buren Park, and we were planting a number of bushes and different flowers in a rain garden, which will be spectacular, particularly since it was pouring rain during the entire effort. And I will admit, I didn't get my hands very dirty that day. But it was amazing to watch people. They'd stick the spade in the ground and it would fill with water immediately. So, but thanks to all the volunteers who came out to do that. And it's always a great thing to do. I also had an opportunity to visit a couple classrooms this week. They were government classrooms. I was kind of discouraged by something. They wanted to know what I did as, mayor, et cetera. And I did get the question, not if I lived in America, but if I drove a limousine. But answer was no to that. I probed with the kids a little bit about what sort of career choices they were making. And I was bothered by the fact that out of 2 classrooms full of kids, not one of them had any interest in doing any government level job, any public service job. And it struck me that we encourage STEM disciplines, which has been great, and it's caught on, and kids understand that there are great jobs and lots of opportunities to learn those jobs, which is a good thing. So I'm not in any way negating the value of STEM disciplines. However, there are lots of people who don't really care for math, science, engineering, that would make wonderful mayors and council members and heads of fire departments. I will take back one thing about the one government-related job that about 6 or 7 kids picked was to be a fireman. That didn't really surprise me, but every little boy wants to be a fireman. Yeah. But, we need to start talking about the value of this, about what we do, both on a local, state, and national level. So just food for a little thought. That is about it. I am going to call this meeting to an end. Our next meeting will be on November 28th, 2023. This meeting is now adjourned.